I'm Allie Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga, and you're watching South Jersey Business with Joe Molyneux.
Welcome to South Jersey Business with Joe Molyneux. Thank you for joining us as we share information, tips, and techniques that can make our business community and your business more successful. Thank you to Stockton University for the opportunity to produce a show focusing on business in South Jersey. On today's program, we will talk with Allie Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga. Allie will share her knowledge and entrepreneurial experience and the continued growth of her business. I have had the opportunity to visit her newest location and found it to be a well-designed space in form and function. Allie Nunzi is active in her industry and community. Her passion to reach more people through yoga has led her to undertake a very unique program in Atlantic City. Stay tuned for our conversation with Allie Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga, and more on South Jersey Business with Joe Molyneux. Welcome back to business. Thanks for joining South Jersey Business with me, Joe Molyneux. Please welcome our guest, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga, Allie Nunzi. Allie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Let's jump right into it. At what point did you start your entrepreneurial journey, and when was that light bulb moment of, hey, I want to open my own business?
My entrepreneurial journey actually started when I was a child. Both my father and my grandfather have always had their own businesses. So it's something that I grew up around, like knowing that I could be my own boss and that my vision mattered. And so I was, post-college working for another company, and that's when the light bulb went off. Like I really started to notice there were things that I cared about and that I could use business as a platform to do all the things that I wanted to do. At the time, I was working in Washington, D.C., and I decided that, hey, today's a great day to quit and do that thing. So that's exactly what I did, and I moved back home to South Jersey.
That's great. I've been a fan of your brand for a long time, and I know it's a growing brand, and we're going to get into that, but we should jump right into this part because people are probably looking at you and knowing that you have multiple locations. How do you go about managing multiple locations?
I have a phenomenal village behind me. So my secret is my team, really. So I'm just one spoke on the wheel, and a really phenomenal team at all of those locations.
That's great. I've heard you say yoga forces growth. So how has yoga helped you grow the business? Yeah,
well, as you know, and everyone watching this I'm sure can attest to, is that every day is a challenge. And so the very practice of yoga, the methodology of yoga, is confronting challenges as they meet you. So staying calm in the moment, or in yoga we call it equanimity, the ability to meet life as it meets you, and bringing that to the platform of business is absolutely necessary, and that way you don't get thrown off when things come at you. And so in order to grow, I feel really strongly that adversity creates you as strong in your life, and especially as a business owner.
That's a great answer, and I think we can all use more of that. Now, yoga clearly, and what you're doing, your model using it creates a community around you. You mentioned that. It creates a community, which can be huge, and a huge benefit to any business, having a community around you. But it could also pose some challenges. Is there challenges that you face based on some of the community building, or any challenges that are inherent to that system?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the business of yoga is it's a spirit-based business. And so with all of that is we're dealing with people's psychology all day, every day. So, reminding myself that I'm in the role as teacher or coach more often than not. And I would say that's really the only challenge, is when people are going about their day or going about their life, or whether it's on team or students that we have, is really we're interacting with people's psychology, and it can be a challenge, and it's a really rewarding challenge at the end of the day to help people to see beyond that. And how lucky are we that we get to do it in a community of people that are up to really a life that's bigger than themselves, and really in connection with the human beings around them.
Well, that brings up an interesting point, the scheduling to meet the needs of that community. is that something that's driven by the needs of the consumer, or is it more about the availability of the instructors? Do you put the chicken in front of the egg or the egg in front of the chicken? I'm not sure, especially when it comes to scheduling, because you do a lot of different types of classes, a lot of different types of yoga, but they're all scheduled all over. So how do you manage that process?
Well, I wish I could tell you that there's some type of reporting or algorithm or science behind why people choose the class times that they do. And we've done everything from surveys to asking people to, we're really in the culture of feedback. And we make the decisions based on that feedback, and it doesn't always land. So I live and breathe and die by the notion that everything's recreatable all of the time. Yeah. So, if something's not working, then we recreate it, including and especially the schedule.
Your philosophy on business in just this first segment has been so great. I'm really looking forward to our next segment. So sit tight. Thanks. We'll be right back with more business talk with founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga, Ali Nunzi. And we're back with Ali Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga. Ali, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How do you define success in business?
In my world, we use the phrase different bottom line. And the way that I personally define success is through the growth of the people and our students and our team members. I am of the rule of thumb that when we care about the people there's a higher number of people that come onto the yoga mats, but when we really concern ourselves with the number, then there seems to be less feet on yoga mats.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you focus on what's important, and the mats get filled, and it works.
Yeah.
That's great. And you called it a different bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. The growth of the business has been great. Can you talk a little bit about what goes into that decision making to get to that next level? Because you have a studio that's full of people, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, let's open a second studio or a third studio. What goes into that decision making process? How do you make that decision when to grow?
Well, to be honest,
always.
Yes, always. A lot of troubleshooting and workshopping and failure, honestly. Looking at where do we want to expand organically, and sometimes it looks like contracting in, getting smaller in order to grow in a really healthful way. Our studio in the Fishtown neighborhood in Philadelphia, like that really came to be out of one of my students feeling really called to own and operate a yoga studio. And so now she's a very wonderful, amazing partner in business. And when we went to open the Atlantic City studio, it was really that we're answering a calling versus us saying, okay, we want to grow because we want to be bigger, better, fill in the blank. It was really an organic process of this is what the trend is telling us of people. This is what people are being a request for. And then we're coming from a space of service versus a space of ego or bigger, better, best.
I think it's important to note you train over 100 yoga instructors a year at your total locations. How do you decide which instructors are going to be part of the Grace and Glory team? I mean, it must be difficult because you have so many people to choose from, but what does it take to be a member of that team?
Yeah, well, we do train. We train a lot of people, whether it's in our facility or in facilities around the world. Really fortunate to do that. I think it's important to note also that not everyone that does the training would like to be a yoga teacher when they complete it. So the program that we have is actually a teacher leader development program. And so no matter what it is that you do in your life, yoga will help you do it better. So a lot of people do it for, up-leveling their practice, to be more introspective, to create better relationships. And so when they complete that, if they feel called to take the path of teacher or leader, we have a mentor program that happens at Grace and Glory Yoga. And then from there, it's kind of skill, natural born skill meets methodology. Oh. And so if that's something that they feel called to do and they're wanting to put in continued work, they have a willingness to be coached and a willingness to receive feedback, then they're a fit for us.
That's great. What's one of the most important business lessons you've learned through this process of being a business owner? What's one of the most important lessons that you've learned?
Alignment is always best.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and
That's perfect.
I've made lots of terrible business decisions in the past, and they've gotten me to where I am now as well. And what I can say, looking back on those, is that when I've made a quote mistake or failed at something, it's really because I wasn't listening to myself, and I made a decision based on, I thought we would make more money or there would be more people, and it was really something that was out of alignment with my own integrity.
So once you got it aligned, things started to fall into place. That's
Absolutely,
great.
yeah.
Another key phrase you hear a lot in yoga is balance. And now getting to know you, you started this business a while ago, you've been growing it, over the course of time. But speaking of balance, you have a husband and you had a brand new baby in this, recent, just a few months ago, really. And you're still, doing your thing. How do you balance? What do you do to balance the work part of work and the family part and everything else that you do in the social life I'm sure that we all need? How do you balance?
Well, it's so interesting. Sometimes I find myself saying that balance is a lie. It's like we can only be where we are. And I also, myself and my team and my husband, who's on my team as well, we have a commitment to each other that we all are out to live full lives. And so really looking at what are we saying yes to, and is it in alignment with what we want to be up to? And so whether that's taking time to be with my daughter, to be with us as a family, or just my husband, or off and doing trainings or traveling, and looking and saying, okay, this is what fits right now and this is what's needed. And then, once we fulfill on that, say, okay, and come back, and then what's needed in another area of our life. And so we all get to be, all hold each other accountable for living the full lives that we want to do. So I can do things like come and be on the show with you and teach yoga and travel and be a mom.
Well, I'm very appreciative. We're very appreciative that you were able to say yes to this opportunity. That was how I was going to actually break this part of the segment, which we are. And we're going to have more conversation on the flip side if you just stay with us.
Great.
Thanks. That was Ali Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga. We'll be right back with more South Jersey Business. As you are aware, management, marketing, money, and media are the essential parts of any business. And when we are discussing the business of yoga, then you need a focused and flexible view on all four M's. So it's time for the M4 Big Money question. All right, Ali, let's break them down. Let's talk a little bit about your management style.
Yeah, well, my management style is, if I had to distill it down to one thing, I think it would be transparency. Yeah, and so we have an administrative team, and our administrative team really is the team that looks at numbers, figures, reports, what is working, what's not working, what pays the bills, what's draining our bank account, all of those types of things. So one thing that we do with the administrative team is it's something that we share with our teaching team. So, I take pride in being fully transparent on where all of our business decisions are coming from. And then when it comes to the management of people, I also pride myself in taking time to make sure that I'm connecting with the people that work with us, making sure that they're seen and heard, and they're really seeing facets of my business that I'm not seeing from their own perspective. So making and taking time to connect with them and hear their feedback is really important to me.
I think those are great principles for any business leader because they are the frontline people that are getting the feedback, and you want them to share. That's a great philosophy. I know we're going to get into media a little later in the discussion, but the marketing, your word of mouth is so strong, and I know it's one of the more traditional forms of marketing. What other traditional forms have you used to reach the measurable level of success as far as marketing your businesses?
What's really interesting is that we don't spend any money on marketing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, and we also would joke, for years we didn't have a sign out front. It goes all word of mouth. And, we're so busy doing the thing that we didn't concern ourselves with, how do people know that we're even here? And then over the past 6 years that we've been open, I've developed some really powerful relationships and just really natural organic networking with other business owners through collaborations or fundraisers or different community events or organizations. And so we've been really lucky to have other like-minded business owners. And so our marketing really comes from that. It comes from the heart. It's not something that we pay for. It's not taking advertisements out. It's really pure from the heart, connecting with people.
If I can make an observation, it's actually interesting. Your first answer to your question is how you connect with the people you work with. What you're actually doing is doing an amazing job giving them the information they need to share with others so they become the best champions and the best, I'll say, marketers of the business. You have an everybody markets philosophy, and it just works because I think they believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's embodied. All of it's embodied.
So the third M, most people don't like to talk about it, but it's part of the question. Money drives the business, I'm sure, but what else does it do for the business, and how are you concerned by it?
Yeah, it's so interesting, and you said it earlier, the business of yoga, which is actually an oxymoron in and of itself, right? And yoga is a philosophy, and so we live in a capitalist society, and in order for people to take it seriously, we have to charge money for yoga classes or teacher trainings, and there's been great debate all over the yoga world about should people charge for yoga. And in our society, I mean, we do have to, because we have to keep the lights on and we have to keep people paid so they can feed their kids and all those types of things. So, we really make healthy decisions when it comes to, okay, well, what is, without taking too much, really, how do we put a dollar amount on our worth? We know that what we have to offer is important, it's valuable, it's life-changing, it's transformational, and so it is important. And so I always ride the line of, we don't want to overcharge people, and we don't want to undervalue ourselves. So it's really, okay, what is it? We don't want to be the most expensive people out there, and we want to make sure that it's accessible in various different ways. And so that's how we come up with, okay, well, this is what we're going to charge for X, and making sure that we are steady in our revenue streams and doing what we have to do to connect with people so that they understand the value.
That's the key word, and I was going to mention that. We have just a few little bit of time left to talk about one of the most important things in your business, which is your media, to include social media and some of the media you've received through the press and things like that. How important is that to the process? And I know you take media seriously as far as social media.
Yeah, it was really interesting. About a week ago, someone had mentioned to someone that works for me that, wow, you guys really must have a great PR person. And we don't have a PR person.
You looked in the mirror, right?
Yeah, that's it, and like I said, it's all embodied. And one thing that I do like about social media is that it's interactive. So we have the ability to get people's feedback live, and people tell the truth on their own social media channels, and we pay attention. We keep our finger on the pulse of, well, what are people saying about us, and not taking it personally, but taking it as like true feedback. And if they have a negative experience, how can we transform it into a positive, or how can we do better next time? And really listening to, okay, what is it that people want? And, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they're all different social media channels, are really an opportunity to interact with our client base.
There you have it. Founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga, Ali Nunzi's well-centered answer to the M4 big money question. Sounds like the perfect position of management, marketing, money, and media. Welcome back. On today's business drill, we will stick with today's theme of yoga and discuss a few observations from the yoga world that you can apply to your business mindset. While I have yet to commit to a plan that includes yoga as part of my lifestyle, many people around me have rolled out a very welcoming yoga mat and suggested I join in. They say it can help me think and be healthier, and I believe they are correct. As I looked into yoga and read about the different practices and options, some common themes surfaced. Those themes have morphed into the following yoga-inspired business thoughts. Focus. You are always more successful when you pay more attention to the things you are doing. Yoga is all about focus and being mindful. Apply this concept to your business activities as needed to achieve more thinking and doing in business. Flexibility. The ability to be flexible is important when practicing yoga. In business, the same can hold true. A plan or operation that is too rigid may have problems surviving changes that occur within your marketplace, region, or industry. Do your best to be flexible. Balance. In yoga, the ability to balance oneself seems to allow you to attempt more positions. The same can be said when creating a balance between business and every other part of your life. The better you can evenly balance the things you do in life, the more positive things you may have the opportunity to experience. Self-paced practice. While yoga can be a very community-based experience, there is also the opportunity to add to the classes with some self-paced practice. When you learn a new skill in business, make sure you continue to practice it regularly to build it into a business habit or best practice. Repetition and results. Beyond the education and practice that is part of yoga, the opportunity to link a number of positions or actions together with regular frequency is something that is encouraged. It helps you achieve the results you are looking for. The same is true for business. Whether it is your work or the work of your employees, repeating and rewarding positive skills can offer a successful result. So let's take a moment to review today's drill. Number 1, focus. Number 2, flexibility. Number 3, balance. Number 4, self-paced practice. Number 5, repetition and results. So there you have it, 5 quick yoga-inspired business thoughts. Reviewing these tips have inspired me to make some time to add yoga to my life. Hopefully, I will see you on the yoga mat right next to me. I guess I was moved to work something good into my life during this week's business drill. It's time for the spotlight. John, what are some of the events that you and the Good Time Tricycle team produce?
Wow, we got an actual pile of them. We just pile them up and just have a good time. So we do the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival. We do a variety of different style tattoo expos. We do the Cider Social. We do midget wrestling. Not PC, but it's awesome. We're going to launch some new programs this year that I'm really not going to delve too much into. This year we're looking at doing a chocolate show. So, all lifestyle stuff. Our wheelhouse is very lifestyle oriented. We look at what people are into, what they're doing, and what drives them and gets them out of their house.
Well, I love that there's such a diversity in your offering. So this next question of who is your target market is going to change event by event. But do you begin with the event or do you begin with the audience when you're planning these events? Because you mentioned lifestyle.
A little bit of both. So what we do is we look at lifestyle trends, right? Hop on the internet, go to a different event. Look what kind of draws people in, where people's interests lie. And then we look at that program, we put a pin in it, we say, okay, that's awesome. That moves bodies. So who are those bodies now? And then we start to kind of seek out, well, who are these interest seekers? Who are into widgets? I never thought I'd use widgets in a conversation. So who are into these widgets? And then we kind of build it around there. And then how do we touch these widget lovers? And find that. And then we say, okay, well, we're doing an event around widgets. So let's create sub-profiles around those widgets that while people are looking at widgets, we can distract them so they can look at other things. And maybe, hey, that's another widget that they might be into. This is how this happened. We started our beer festival, right? Beer grew and grew and grew and grew, and we started to add ciders. And why did we add ciders? Because we wanted to see if there was an interest, almost like a gigantic focus group. And we saw people kind of going towards ciders. We knew that we could get away with doing a cider program. Hence, the Cider Social was born. So we use our own concepts to tease and test people with other concepts.
It's great. You just did a great job of answering the how after the who and the what. So now we get to the why. What drives you? What inspires you? Year over year, you come up with new ideas. Talk about what inspires you, please.
What inspires me? I'm inspired by success, right? when a program works, I'm inspired. But on the flip side, when a program doesn't work, we did an event a bunch of years ago called the Average Joe Expo. Fell flat on my face. Just might as well have set a pile of money on fire, danced around it, hoped it rained. But I learned a lot from it. And one thing I did learn was, if you take your lumps, your wins feel that much better because you know what the down was like. So as bad as it hurt to get beat up, it was inspiring to go, okay, so I'm not invincible and don't do that again. And here's what you have to do to fix what you're doing. And it kind of propped me up. Like, I think I worked harder that next year after that on every other program we had. I attribute a lot of our kind of black eyes to the success of the program.
Well, I want to say you're not only a producer, you are a creator. And I want to thank you for the creativity because it results in thousands of people coming to South Jersey. And above that, the other areas that you also produce events in. So I want to thank you for not only that, but for sharing time with us in the Business Spotlight today.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
That was John Henderson, President and Executive Event Producer at Good Time Tricycle. We'll be right back with more South Jersey business. The crew here at South Jersey Business appreciates those of you that tune into the show each week. From time to time, we receive questions from our viewers, and we always do our best to respond to your inquiries. So it's time for Q&A. And here's this week's question. Dear South Jersey Business, I have a retail gift store on a very busy road. Hundreds of cars pass by. But I am having a hard time capturing any of the daily commuter business. Any thoughts? Thanks for the question. So many businesses want a high-traffic business location, but find themselves being passed by for many reasons. It could be based on the direction of the traffic passing your location at a certain time of day, or some difficulty of getting into your parking lot, or the fact that they pass by too quickly to stop. I would suggest two things. First, drive the road that your business is located on, passing your business in both directions as many times as it takes to get a good idea of what the commuters see and experience, and have a willing passenger take notes, pictures, and video. Review the material you collect. It may be as simple as seeing where the problems of people noticing your business exist. Perhaps correct signage or make some other needed changes to make a difference. Another suggestion may be to create an incentive to have people stop, like a free cup of coffee with a purchase for the morning commuters, or partner with a neighboring food business for discounted takeout coupons to attract the attention of the commuters going home. Lastly, if possible, green up your space or add a unique art installation. That may help. Thanks for reaching out. I hope that helps answer your question and helps you catch the eye of the potential customer passerby. We'll be right back. Well, that's the show. We had an informative discussion with Ali Nunzi, founder and CEO of Grace and Glory Yoga. We answered a question and even positioned ourselves to create a better business inspired by yoga during our business drill. Once again, thank you to Stockton University and everyone that makes this program possible. Let's do it again next week. And until then, let's get growing, South Jersey. Thanks for watching.